Black people want to be left alone. They don't want revenge. They don't want to replace us, as some extremist groups have said. They just want to live life in peace, the way they want to live. They want family, they want love, and they want to live in a society where they know they belong here. They want society to also know that they belong here. They want to walk out their door and not worry that they're going to be treated unfairly, or they're going to get that look like they're not welcome, or that someone's going to try to touch their hair like a zoo animal. Yes, they want they want white people to fix white problems of prejudice and ignorance and all the ways that a wrongful sense of superiority is baked into our society. Yes, they want that to change. Yes, they want acknowledgement for harms done. They don't want us to just explain things away or justify or gloss over things without really listening. But more than anything, they want to be themselves, fully express who they are, love who they are, be with their family, and live in peace. That's it.
Hello, what's up, good people? What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing great from wherever you're watching this video from today. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back for another video. Now, something generally interesting has been happening lately in America, and I don't know if you have noticed it, but more and more white people and even some Asian people are suddenly speaking up. They're calling out racism, they're calling out white supremacy, and they're kind of like apologizing to Black people. You have people saying, especially on social media, that we were wrong all along and that Black people were always right. But then here's a real question though. Is this a genuine awakening? Or is this just unity, some kind of unity of convenience? And when I talk about unity of convenience, really what I mean here is it that these people just want to achieve something, and so they are just using Black people? They're trying to provoke the the voices of Black people to speak up for them, after which, everything goes back to default, everything goes back to the normal setting, because these things have happened before. And so this is the conversation I want us to try and have in this video. I'm going to share some videos right here that I'd love us to watch and listen keenly, and I'm sure we're going to learn something from it, and I'll be back with some more good commentary after these videos. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and if you love this conversation, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I'd really appreciate. See you on the other side.
You know, I can honestly say that I truly appreciate the Black community and being in support of understanding what the Asian community is going through. Mainly because we don't deserve your kindness. Like, we don't deserve the amount of gratitude, the moral support, the kindness that you have provided us on all levels of platform when it comes to being so relatable. Simply because of all of the racist shit that you guys have endured from our community in its own. You don't deserve it, because even coming from a family of immigrants, like, for our family to come here to the States and to either piggyback, hop on, ignoring all of those things and not acknowledging a problem of us being racist to Black Americans, but immigrating from a whole nother country and then just developing a whole racist mindset because of what white Americans have planted is freaking insane. So we don't deserve your guys' kindness. We don't deserve this. So when I say that I'm truly appreciative, and I really do admire the amount of support that we have been getting, I truly mean it. For a while now, I understood that even for myself, that I have appropriated Black culture, and however that may look, right? As simply as being given permission from some of my Black friends to use the N-word, to talking, dressing, and just really trying to find a way to be actually accepted by the Black community because my own community wouldn't accept me.
I've been trying for a while now to figure out how to talk about something that's been on my mind, and recent events, I think, finally pushed it up. What I want to say is that racism is a white people problem. A white people problem that others are forced to live with. As a white man, I've never had to be afraid of being pulled over by the cops. As a white father, I've never had to have that special talk with my kids about not looking wrong or saying the wrong thing to a cop for fear that they wouldn't come home again. I've never had to worry about being turned down for a mortgage because of the color of my skin or where to go jogging. Never had to worry that I could be scooped up by ICE just for looking like I might belong to the wrong group, even though I was born here. I've never committed the misdemeanor crime of selling cigarettes. But if I did, it wouldn't be a capital offense. These are things that people of color have to deal with every stinking day. These are things that white people allow, that white people cause. I think I'm finally ready to talk about it now because of the state that our country's in, the permission that Donald Trump has given for racist behavior, and the hope I recently felt when I saw the latest poll numbers. For reasons that never made sense to me, Donald Trump has gained support in nearly every demographic when he won his last election, including non-white communities. But now, recent polling suggests that just about everybody is finally seeing him for what he is. They're seeing his racism, and the racism emanating from this administration like stink from a skunk. And they're saying it's not okay. He's lost everything that he gained, and then some, among all these groups. Well, every group except one. That one group is white, non-college educated men, the last stronghold of Trump's race-based politics. Polling indicates that a majority of this group is still standing solidly behind Trump and his policies. Unfortunately for them, they're not going to be any better off under Trump's policies than anybody else. Maybe one day they'll realize that their racism isn't worth what they're losing. And maybe the rest of us will realize something too, that racism is a white people problem, and it's up to white people to solve it. It's up to white people to call it out among their coworkers, their friends, and their family. It's up to white people to be the loudest and proclaim that racism is no longer acceptable in American institutions. It's up to white people to make sure that we're not voting for the racists.
The first bullet will not be for the black man, but for the white traitor that sold out his people. That is a quote often attributed to this man, a well-known white supremacist terrorist in South Africa aiming to maintain the apartheid system. And so while the attribution is quite frankly very difficult to find, and it doesn't directly literally apply because bullets have been flying in America the past 250 years against black and brown people, the sentiment is very clear, which is that while white supremacists, especially those that identify and theorize as such, maintain hatred and want separation or oppression of those they see to be racially inferior, their primary immediate political targets are those they deem to be white traitors. Because in white supremacist minds, and in fact white supremacist societies like America and South Africa, white people hold the power. And the most important thing for a white supremacist is to maintain the solidarity of those that hold power. The elites understand this. That is why rich people have solidarity amongst themselves. And they are willing to enforce this solidarity with violence. That is what is being seen. It is not just an expansion of the stochastically violent terrorists put on the street, but it is a part and an effect of those terrorists being hired by the state, those violence workers, that organization being penetrated actively so by white supremacist organizations like the Proud Boys, like Identity Europa, like Christian Identity, and like the KKK, whose primary call to action is not to enforce racial separation. That was theirs like 60 years ago, 70 years ago. They will leave that to the system they want to change. Their primary immediate call to action as a small group of privileged and very violent individuals is to start enforcing the solidarity amongst white people so that we either stand in line while they shift the system to be more openly oppressive, more openly violent, and more openly racialized, or we see ourselves as next. So if you don't want to stand in line, if you don't want to fall in line with the white supremacist terrorists, you better start identifying a hell of a lot more with those oppressed by the white supremacy, those oppressed by the racial superiority, those oppressed by the American empire, and then focusing on maintaining the privilege that they grant you. And that is the shift, because you genuinely will become a race traitor. And that is not a slur, that is a fucking compliment. Because anything other than a race traitor in a white supremacist society is a white supremacist.
I would ask my people of color to stick with me for just a minute because I want to ask you a question. I'm probably going to sound really stupid. So please, if anything I say sounds offensive, it's not meant to be offensive. It's because I'm learning and I don't have the correct vocabulary. So, if you haven't followed me, I'm an attorney. I've worked in the criminal justice system. I know there's systemic oppression. I have seen it. I have fought against it. I have children who are biracial, and I have seen how people look at me when I walk into the store with my daughters versus without my daughters. I've seen it. I know I only have just the slightest idea of what my people of color have gone through over the years, but I know that it's real. But I also know that I don't know very much because I was raised the privilege that this skin and my blue eyes allowed me to have, and school was easy for me. So I didn't have trouble in school, so I was able to be educated. All the privilege that comes with that I now acknowledge that I didn't even know what it was until really I started opening my eyes to it in Black Lives Matter and realizing how bad systemic racism is across the board. But I have an idea, and again, I'm probably going to sound stupid because I bet you guys have known this for centuries, that the reason that Black people especially and have been persecuted is I think you guys have some stuff that we don't have. I mean, I think you may have some power. I don't know what else to call it. Spiritual closeness, something that I've been a person of faith my whole life, and I love Jesus, and I've always sought after Jesus, but my whole religious foundation is crumbling because I'm seeing all the lies in the church. I still love Jesus and what he taught, but is there a place you guys could point me to try to read about that, to learn about that? Am I off base, or I know I'm probably so late to the party and y'all probably are going to think that I'm ridiculous, but I want to learn. I want to do better. And I can't do better unless I learn better. And I want to learn for my friends and for my country and for my children. So if there's truth to that you guys know of, that there's somewhere you can point me books or somebody to follow or study, I want to try to learn to see why is it that Black people have been singled out for hundreds and hundreds of years. Y'all got something special that they're trying to take away? I think that may be part of it. Do I sound crazy? I don't know anymore. The world has seemed so crazy that I'm questioning everything, but really there's got to be a reason. And it's got to be something that you've got some power that they want to take away, right? Or is it something else? Tell me if I'm off base. And I know it's not your job to teach me. I know it, but I do need some help getting pointed in the right direction because I have no idea where to even go to research this. So,
Okay, now I'm not going to lie, but when you first come across these videos of white people speaking on behalf or for Black people, or what Black people have always been saying, it almost feels surreal. You see white Americans openly saying, that white supremacy, they admit, acknowledge that white supremacy is real. You see them calling out their own communities, and even some Asian people, saying openly that they have benefited from anti-Blackness, and the anti-Black agenda in their own community. You see these apologies, and it's kind of like people are reflecting, what they have been doing, especially to Black people. And part of you wants to say, finally, this is the moment which America is waking up to the truth, because really for decades, and I mean for decades, many years, Black Americans have been saying these same exact things from the days of the civil rights movements, from the days of people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, all the way to today. Black people have been diagonizing America, and its real issues, real sickness. And they have been saying that, there's systemic racism in this country. There is economic exclusion in America. There is mass incarcerations, police brutality. And generally, they've been saying there is structural inequality embedded in the very fabric of, the foundation of modern day America. And for the longest time, by the way, they've always been told that they are exaggerating, that they are just playing victim, that, slavery ended a long time ago, that racism is over, such things. And suddenly, people are repeating the same points now, especially white people, So the real question is not whether what they're saying is the truth. The question is, why now? Why is the awakening happening at this point? That's the real question. Is it because people have genuinely evolved, that is, like, morally? Have these people woken up, Or is it because social media has, exposed some of the most uncomfortable truths in their communities? Or is it because maybe the younger generations are less tolerant to injustice? It could also be a change in generation, Or is it because that there are a lot of political and economic pressures, and the political and economic climate has shifted? It could be that, and now that is what could be, the unity of convenience. When someone like Donald Trump rises to power and starts pushing policies that affect not just Black people, but also white liberals, immigrants, Asians, Latinos, other Black people from outside. And suddenly the system doesn't feel comfortable for anyone. And so people just want to come together to try and fight, this government. When economic pressures increase, when jobs feel unstable, when freedoms of these people feel threatened, and suddenly solidarity sounds something attractive. It feels like calling the people who have always fought could be a good move. And now there is exactly where suspicion comes in from Black people, because historically Black people have often been called upon to fight for justice, and not just justice for themselves, but really justice for America, justice for everybody. Black people fought in wars for a country that did not that even went ahead to deny them basic fundamental rights, human rights. Black people were at the front lines of expanding democracy in America, and the civil rights movement did not just benefit Black people. It generally benefited women, immigrants, disabled people. Everyone benefited from these struggles of Black movements, But after those victories, then many people just ignored the sacrifices. Many people went back to normal. They integrated into whiteness again. They climbed the ladder, and anti-Blackness openly remained, the case, even after all that was done to them. So when Black people see this new wave of allyship, then they ask, is this transformation, or is this just some strategy? No wonder you're seeing the many Black people who are saying, you see, we don't have allies. This is just pretentious call for unity, because unity of principle is powerful, but unity of convenience is temporary. And unity of principle is now to say, even if it costs me, I will stand for what is right. But on the other side, unity for convenience says, as long as our interests align somehow, we are together. But when they don't align, then you are alone. And Black people honestly have experienced this kind of betrayals before. These patterns have always been there, and there's always been a moment when Black pain becomes useful, when Black voices are necessary, when Black energy is valuable. in such instances where someone is trying to achieve something. But once the crisis passes, then people go back to silence. And even when Black people call on the same people they fought for, when now it is time to fight for Black people, nobody really comes out to say anything. So this moment requires wisdom, because here is the truth. Real change is possible, though. Societies do change, societies do evolve, and people do awaken to the truth, and the truth can never be hidden forever. Generations can shift. Maybe young white Americans, and statistically, are more aware of this racial injustice than the previous generations. That is the truth. So social media, for example, has exposed realities that mainstream media that was relied maybe by the older generations would rather filter in most cases. And then there is a global conversation about colonialism, about systemic oppression, and now they are louder than ever. So these could be the agents that have provoked this kind of awareness. Yes, it could be. And so maybe there could be a genuine awakening. It could be the beginning of a deeper reckoning. But, sincerity is not proven by words. It's really proven more by actions, and not just actions, but actually by sacrifice. Are people willing to give up privilege? Are people willing to give up white privilege? Are people willing to challenge policies, not just attitudes? Are they willing to stand firm, even when it is unpopular in their own communities, in their own families? Because calling out racism online is one thing. Challenging racist structures at your workplace, at your families, even at your voting patterns, that is the real deal. That is, and that is different. And for Black people watching this moment unfold, the key is, do not rush to emotionally invest. And that's what I'm observing from many Black people. They observe, measure the consistency, watch what happens when political winds begin to change, when Donald Trump is not in power anymore, when America feels a little bit more, stable again. Watch what happens when it's no longer trendy, maybe to say, Black Lives Matter, because people could be using these trends just for popularity, or just to achieve their goals. You watch what happens when standing with Black people can now cost social capital instead of always gaining it. And that is when you will know if it's real awakening, or it's something that fades with comfort. And here's something else we must also be honest about. Black people don't owe anyone their energy. Solidarity must be mutual, and support must be reciprocal. You give me and I give you, and what you give me is what you get back. Justice must be principled and not transactional, because history has shown us that Black people's struggles has often been the engine of democracy in America, but also engines they wear out over time if they are not maintained. And so maybe this moment is different. Maybe this is the beginning of a more honest America. Maybe this is the beginning of the truth, or maybe it is just another vicious cycle of trying to use Black people for convenience. Either way, I think the smartest position right here is a balanced awareness, especially from Black people. Hope, but with memory. This is still the same America. Openness, but with discernment, because unity is powerful, but only if it is rooted in truth. Not some temporary fear of these Trump policies, of this Trump generation, of ICE, of economic collapse of the country. It's truth, not this fear. And that is the conversation that maybe people need to have right now. Is this awakening real, or is this just alignment under pressure that is caused maybe by the government? I think only time will tell. But this time, Black people must watch carefully and actually move more and more wisely. Yeah. So yeah, that's my take on it. I don't know what yours is. Do share with me what you think in the comment section below. Thank you for watching until this moment. This is we've come to the end of this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you like this kind of content, share this video, and I'll see you in the next video.